Of all these crazy objectives that you've done with Tom, the Sentry crack, the 2 years of training in the cellar for that, Cobra crack, the Bridge Boys, which ones have been the most, I've got 4 categories: fun, rewarding, miserable, and traumatizing?
I think the Sentry crack trip was really fun, I think. Just because at that point in my life, I think, how old was I then? I was 20, I think, then. I'd never been out of Europe, I don't think. It was my first time to America.
That was a full road trip. You guys did tons of stuff.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like going and climbing Sentry crack, but it was like we visited loads of different areas. We went and climbed, these routes and this style that we were really into at the time. And we just got to meet people along the way and sample loads of cool stuff. And I think, it was just like a really memorable trip, even to this day. Like that was definitely the most fun. And then, the outcome was what we've been training for the 2 years. So it was all like really, it made it even more fun because it was just rewarding at the end. So so I'd say that was the most fun. What was the second category?
We've got rewarding, miserable, and traumatizing.
Miserable, I would say miserable was probably the Bridge Boys. It was still fun.
It looked so dirty. It looked so gross.
Quite miserable. Yeah, exactly.
Like eating pizza under the grime of a motorway. I was like, dude.
Just like that thing of just years of car dust and dirt and oil and fuel and whatever coming down that gap in the bridge.
Yeah.
And because obviously nobody else has been along there cleaning it, we're just cleaning it as we go. And it's just so much stuff, so much dirt. It was kind of like miserable, that I would say. And also it was just, it was really hard work as well, doing the same move the 2,500 feet.
Jesus. Yeah.
So it was, that was a miserable one. And then traumatizing, I would say probably the trip in Yosemite. Me and Tom did like a big walling trip to Yosemite where we tried to climb as many or free as many big walls as we could in like it was my first season in Yosemite. But I think it was kind of difficult I felt like it was a little bit difficult for Tom because he struggles with exposure quite a bit if he hasn't been doing it very much. So there was definitely like a bit of struggle on that trip in terms of that. So
what was that like for you?
He hasn't gone back.
He hasn't gone back.
He hasn't gone back to Yosemite since. No. No. For me, I mean, like I really enjoyed the trip, and for me, like it was like a whole new thing again, like eye-opening to the big walling world. I think that was 2014 now, so nearly 10 years ago. And I felt like it's shown me different opportunities and stuff. So I found it a really rewarding trip, but maybe as a pair, it was maybe quite traumatizing. Yeah.
Hey friends, I want to take a second to tell you about my new favorite climbing shoes. I fell in love with these this year. This is the Drone CS from Madrock. It's an amazing bouldering shoe, and I actually sent all of my hardest boulders in 2023 wearing the Drone CS. I also just got my first pair of the Drone 2.0. The Drone 2.0 is a huge improvement over the original, in my opinion. It has a lot of the same features as the Drone CS, which I love. It's just a little bit stiffer and more supportive, and you can really toe into small footholds and edge really well with this shoe. I really love both of these shoes, and I think they complement each other really well. If you want to check them out, head over to madrock.com and use code NUGGET at checkout to save 10% off your first order. That's madrock.com. Use code NUGGET to save 10% off your order. All right, enjoy the rest of the video. I mean, as his partner on that trip, like how is that affecting you? What are you dealing with up there? Like, you're trying to support him, but also just trying to enjoy being up there, trying to be psyched, probably like having some, intimidation and fear yourself on some of these hard, difficult things. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was difficult because I think when you can see your partner struggling in whatever it is, doesn't, in this case, it was exposure and, having a difficult time, but obviously he's wanting to do well, then it's kind of difficult. But I don't know, I like to think of myself as a decent climbing partner and kind of offer support where it's need to, or take the leads when it's need to, or do what's needed. And I'm definitely not gonna push it, and if we did have to go down, then we would have had to go down. I don't think Tom would have ever wanted to do that, but I think I kind of like to think I'm a good climbing partner in that sense. Yeah, like listening to your partner, I think that's important, especially on the walls as well. When there's if people aren't feeling right and mistakes are made, then that's when it can become like really deadly and stuff. So I think it's good to listen to the vibe, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, you got one more rewarding.
I think the trips that we've done down to the White Rim in Canyonlands have been really rewarding. And I think it's definitely one of my favorite areas.
That's where Sentry Crack is.
That's where Sentry Crack is. But from that trip, we've been back down to the same area, maybe 4 or 5 different trips, like long extended trips. Because on that Sentry Crack trip, we realized that, oh my God, Sentry Crack isn't a one and only. There are hundreds of these things out there.
Wow.
And I think for both of us, it was really rewarding to find that area and develop this style of roof crack climbing, which hasn't really been around before. There have been a few like occasional big roofs, but we were finding these things that weren't just like 100-foot long like Sentry Crack, but were 100 meters long. Like these big, massive roofs.
What was the one with the super gnarly mono crux on it?
Cobra Crack?
No, not Cobra Crack. It was one of the ones down in the White Rim area. It was a roof crack in the desert.
Oh, the Crucifix.
The Crucifix. Yeah.
So that's in the same area. That's in the same area. Yeah. Still a project.
Yeah. I had forgotten about that. That's right. I remember following the updates and being like, are they going to fucking do this thing? Like, how hard is this going to be?
Yeah.
Is that still on your radar?
Yeah. We did a lot of other routes around that area because there were loads of other big roof cracks. So whilst we were working on the Crucifix, we were also like doing these other, hard 513, low 514 trad routes. But yeah, we never kind of got around to finishing off or doing the Crucifix. I think it's for the next generation. There we go. Yeah,
there we go.
There we go. It's really hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
I mean, I know it's hard to assign grades to things that haven't been done yet, but give me some context around that. I mean, how does it compare to something like Crown Royale or some of these other hardest trad routes you've done? Is this thing 515? Like what? What's?
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%, no doubt.
Yeah.